Rappers write bars about catching bodies and beating cases all the time, and usually they're just capping for clout. But some artists are really about that life. And today, we're breaking down the biggest rappers in the game who caught a murder charge and beat it. Let's get right to it. Before he was tragically murdered last year, Draco the Ruler was one of the hottest West Coast rappers in the game. He popped off back in 2015 with the track Mr. Get Dough, which led to him linking with DJ Mustard and dropping his debut mixtape under his label. Draco could have blown up and hit the mainstream back then, but legal issues kept him in and out of jail over the next few years. And in 2018, he caught a murder charge for allegedly being involved in the death of a dude named Red Bull in 2016. According to prosecutors, Draco went to a party to take out a rapper named RJ. They said he gave weapons to his homies Jaden Boyd and Mikhail Buchanan, and by the end of the night, Red Bull was dead and 2 bystanders were being treated for gunshot wounds. Draco was facing life in prison, and the cops did everything they could to lock him up. They used wiretaps, informants, and surveillance cameras to try and pin the case on him. They even used his lyrics against him in court. Draco said the whole thing was laughable and told The Guardian, "The whole point of me starting to rap is to get to rap and talk about these things and not do these things." In 2019, he was acquitted of murder and attempted murder, but he was still facing charges for gang conspiracy and shooting from a vehicle. While he was waiting for that trial to start, Draco kept grinding and recorded a whole album from behind bars. When he finally got out in November 2020, fans thought Draco was gonna pop out and take over the game. But then just a year later, he was stabbed to death at the Once Upon a Time in LA festival. Draco had all the talent and buzz to really take it far. Beating the case and dropping the project from jail gave him a lot of momentum, but unfortunately, he got caught up in a deadly situation before he ever reached his full potential. Boosie is one of the most influential rappers in the game, but he almost wasn't around to see everyone who came up after him. He jumped in the streets at a young age after his dad was murdered, and back in 2010, he was facing the death penalty in his own homicide case. In June 2010, Boosie was hit with a first-degree murder charge over the death of a dude named Terry Boyd. Boyd was actually the brother of Boosie's baby mama, and he was killed in 2009 when someone let off shots at the house he was staying in. The prosecutors accused Boosie of hiring a 17-year-old named Marlo Mike for $2,800 to take Boyd out. Since he was facing the death penalty, Boosie was locked up on death row, where he was in solitary confinement for 23 hours a day. Marlo Mike had been locked up before on charges like battery and robbery, and one time he told his mom that he heard voices in his head. He didn't want to get treatment or get sent to an institution, so he stayed in the streets and allegedly caught 9 bodies by the time he was 15. Mike originally told the cops that he killed Boyd for Boosie, but when he took the stand, he told the jury that his original confession was all cap. According to him, the cops threatened to arrest his mom and stepdad, so he didn't think he had a choice. Without Marlo Mike's testimony, the prosecution didn't really have a case against Boosie, and on May 11, 2012, the jury dropped Boosie's charges. Mike went down for Boyd's murder and confessed to being involved with 6 other bodies. They couldn't hit him with the death penalty since he was a minor at the time, but now he's serving life in prison. It's a sad story all around, but at least Boosie didn't get the death penalty for a crime he didn't commit. Snoop Dogg is a living legend, and there's a reason he has so much respect from fans and other rappers. These days, he's all about spreading positivity and keeping kids out of the streets. But back in the 90s, he was really in the trenches and caught a murder charge while he was recording his debut album. In August 1993, Snoop and his homies were chilling at his apartment. A dude named Philip Walter Merriam came through and started causing issues, and witnesses say he pulled out a gun and told Snoop he ran the hood. After Walter Merriam and his crew drove off, Snoop and a few others hopped in a Jeep and went after him. Snoop caught up to Walter Merriam at a park, and their crew started arguing back and forth. Walter Merriam reached for his gun, but Snoop's bodyguard saw it coming and shot Walter Merriam to death before he could up it. Snoop and his bodyguard were both charged with murder, and they spent the next 2 years fighting the case. The cops and the media tried to convince everyone that Snoop was a violent criminal who needed to be locked up. But even back then, Snoop was preaching against violence. He told the LA Times, "I guess they think I'm macho and I don't care or something. But man, I'm someone who's trying to turn his life around." And it gets emotional. Snoop was acquitted in '96, and he says that the whole situation made him change his life. In 2018, he went on the Now What podcast and said, "I changed because I don't want to live this gangster life no more. I don't want that no more because I see the results of it." Luckily, Snoop beat the case, and now he's using his platform to keep other young dudes out of those situations. Before he was killed back in 2020, King Von was one of the most savage rappers in the game. He was blowing up off the music, but what a lot of people didn't realize is how active he really was in the streets. If he didn't die that night in Atlanta, he'd be facing at least 2 murder cases right now, but he already beat one a few years ago. In 2014, Von and his homie Big Mike were allegedly involved in the death of a college basketball player named Malcolm Stuckey. Stuckey and Von were at the same party, and when Von spotted some ops, he left and came back with Big Mike. Big Mike later told police that the ops saw them walking up and started letting off shots. Von and Mike shot back and hit one of them in the face and the other in the foot, but Stucky got caught in the crossfire and was tragically killed. When the police brought Big Mike in for questioning, he flipped and started working with him. He told him everything and said he would testify in court, so the situation wasn't looking good for Von. But when the trial came, Mike changed his mind and stopped cooperating completely. Without his testimony, the prosecutors had nothing on Von, so Von slid on the murder charge and Big Mike got hit with 28 years. EBG Jizzle is a rapper from Memphis who started popping off last year with tracks like Rumors and Jizzle Flow. He told Camp Capone News that he's been rapping his entire life, but he was always too heavy in the streets to take it that seriously. He was booked on an attempted murder charge at just 13 years old, and at 16, he got sent to juvie for aggravated robbery. Going to juvie didn't keep him out of the streets though, and in 2020, he got booked on a murder charge and was facing 15 to 25 years in prison. It's not clear exactly what went down, but Jizzle said,
"So they just going by what a say. So somebody told them something, but when it was time to come to court and trial and shit, you know, he didn't want to take the stand and testify."
Jizzle told Camp Capone that he was trying to switch up how he moved and just focus on rapping after he beat the case. But a couple months ago, he got booked on another murder charge. There ain't a lot of public details about the case, but in September, Jizzle was arrested for first-degree murder and aggravated assault for something that happened back in January 2020. Beating one murder case is hard, but skating on 2 homicides will make him one of the luckiest rappers in the game. New details could break any day on this story, so tap in for updates. Gucci Mane is another legend in the game who almost got sent away on a murder charge. Back in 2005, he was locked in a heated beef with Jeezy. They had linked up for the track So Icy, but a week after it dropped, Jeezy allegedly put a $10K bounty on Gucci's ice cream chain. A couple weeks later, Gucci went home with a stripper from the club. Then in the middle of the night, 5 goons broke in and tried to rob him. It's not exactly clear how it happened, but Gucci upped his strap and killed one of the dudes while everyone else ran off. He buried the body behind a local middle school and found a new girl to end the night with. Not long after, cops put out a warrant for his arrest. Gucci turned himself in and let everyone know he wasn't out there shooting dudes for no reason. He said, "I was scared a little bit, but I had to do what I had to do. I'm not a bad person. I have remorse for everything that happened." It turned out the dude who Gucci killed was Jeezy's artist, Pooh. Jeezy's always denied being involved, but rumors say he paid Pooh and the others to take Gucci out. Gucci beat the case since he was obviously acting in self-defense, and he even used the situation to diss Jeezy. On his track The Truth, he said, "Go dig your partner up, bet he can't say shit. And if you looking for the kid, I'll be in zone 6. I know it's hard for you to sleep knowing you killed your homeboy. You left his son to be a bastard, won't even raise your own boy." Gucci and Jeezy eventually squashed the beef, but that hasn't stopped Gucci from dissing Pooh. He hopped on Lil Durk's track Rumors and said, "DA dropped my murder, didn't have evidence to prove it. I think my house is haunted. Yeah, by who? The ghost of Pooh." Gucci switched up his image and started trying to spread more positivity like Snoop, but he's letting everyone know that he's still not the one to mess with. 22 Savage is a comedian who blew up for impersonating 21 Savage. Fans thought the whole situation was funny, but 22 started looking a lot more savage when he got booked on a murder charge back in 2015. According to local reports, 22 and a couple of his homies were in a grocery store parking lot when they started pressing the dude named Richard Phillips. Phillips was passing out flyers for a party, and it's not clear exactly why 22 had issues with him, but the argument got heated, and 22 ended up shooting and killing Phillips. He was arrested for second-degree murder and admitted to shooting Phillips, but according to him, it was self-defense. The cops said that surveillance footage didn't match up with 22's story, and it looked like he was gonna go down for the shooting. It's not clear what went down behind the scenes, but in 2017, a grand jury decided not to hit him with the murder charge. Now, hopefully 21 Savage beats his case with Ice, and maybe they can finally link up for a collab project.